Welcome back to another episode of Marvel News Desk, your best place to keep up with all of the latest news, reviews, and speculation concerning Marvel films and TV shows. Our panel today is our usual crew. We've got Adam.
Hey guys, what's going on? You can find me on Twitter at Adam Barnhart. That's spelled B-A-R-N-H-A-R-D-T. I did try taking a sabbatical of sorts from Twitter to avoid spoilers, but that only lasted 48 hours, so I'm back. Probably for good.
And I think you just heard a laugh there from Rhiannon.
Hey, this is Rhiannon. I am on Twitter as Brooklyn Wallace. My name on Twitter is Brooklyn Wallace, and my handle is Shot of Patron. And I don't even pretend that I have the strength to stay off social media in advance of Infinity War, but please don't spoil me.
And I'm at Caleb A. Borchers. Borchers is B-R-C-H-E-R-S. And I can stay off social media. So we'll just be honest straight up here. The news and the mailbag might be a little anemic this week because I gave up about 4 days ago trying to be online. These guys had something spoiled on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, did you see so-and-so's tweet?" And I was like, that's it. I gave up. It's been deleted off my phone. No Twitter. Facebook I've done very sparingly. So I am solo parenting our 3 oldest girls this week. So the last thing I need to do is argue with people on Facebook and get spoiled. So sayonara. I am done with the social media for a while. But I think we should be able to hobble together enough news to talk about. So let's start out with the hottest rumor that we've seen. And this is kind of weird. It comes from a blog called comicgenre.com, run by some guy named Brent Andrew, which, I don't know, it sounds like a fake name. I don't know, maybe Brent really has that name. That's wonderful, Brent, if you do. I don't know who this guy is. I don't think anybody does. A Google search gives you nothing but this webpage. But he claims he was hanging out with Fox people the other day, and not like people who are Foxes, but people that work for Fox 21st Century, and
Zorro! That was Zorro.
It would be kind of cool if he was actually hanging out with Fox people. But anyway, he was talking about the Marvel and 21st Century or 20th Century Fox. I forget what they're calling themselves this century. They were talking about what's going on. And basically what he said is the deal does still look like it's going to happen sometime next summer, which we've heard several places. The biggest thing is that Kevin Feige is, the quote was, hoovering up, which I believe means sucking up like a vacuum, the new Fantastic Four and X-Men properties, including Deadpool, and that they're already starting to do the groundwork on all this stuff. He also said that Dark Phoenix is undergoing massive reshoots and that these people who are left at Fox are not happy with Simon Kinberg. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going on here, if this is real or not. Does it sound real to you, guys?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've talked about this before. There is no way that Kev does not know what he's going to do with those properties. He probably has the whole next century planned out for whoever takes over for him, should someone take over for him, you know? So he knows what he's doing. But that does bring up, I mean, New Mutants is technically in the hopper. Like, they filmed that whole movie, so they just got all that footage, and even though they're going through reshoots and things of that nature, you know, that's just going to be out there in the open. Should this report be accurate, which, I mean, we don't... It's one of the things, it sounds entirely plausible. I mean, there's no reason to not believe it.
I mean, reading through it, it looked like it was... I mean, there was no reason not to believe it. So, I'll buy it.
So, we are always not sure of what to talk about sometimes on this podcast. I think at this point it's safe to say... Let me put it this way. I've heard John Schnepp say many times on Collider Heroes that he is confident that a X-Men deal was happening regardless of the Fox deal. Like, the MCU was going to get some of the X-Men back anyway. And we had heard some pretty similar rumblings as well. like a month or two before the Fox deal happened, that even if the Fox deal didn't happen, that there was a kind of Fantastic Four and some of the X-Men had been kind of packaged in a deal to go over to Marvel. And, you know, we didn't talk about it. We weren't sure if we could. We didn't know if it was real. Now that this Fox deal has taken its place, I think it's safe to say we had heard that. And if that's the case, this totally makes sense. I mean, Feige was making plans for the X-Men before the Fox deal even started. And so, yeah, I think it is obvious. I also love this stuff about Kinberg, that Dark Phoenix is a mess. I heard somebody the other day on one of these YouTube shows try to give Kinberg a break, and they're like, well, he's a first-time director, so, you know, you got to give him some slack. The only reason he got this job is because he's been around for like every day of shooting for 6 movies, right? They didn't give it to a first-time director to get someone inexperienced. And so the fact that he is not planned for this is, it just shows you how in a dump the Fox X-Men stuff is. And it's, you know, there's no excuse for it. There's no reason why Kinberg should not have known what's going on. So
I like how the report says that they're not happy with Simon Kinberg, and it got me thinking, I mean, is there actually somebody that is happy? I know fan-wise I can name 10 to 1 people who dislike him, so maybe 20 to 1. It's crazy. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that conversation with Feige and Kinberg. It's got to happen sooner or later, right?
Well, and we should say there is a sadness in that there are probably going to be some Fox people who are going to be fired, right? Like a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. As they put it in corporate speak, when they did the deal, the Disney was like, well, we're also going to save $2.4 billion in removing of redundancies, which is a terrible way to say that guy that that gets coffee for us at Disney, he's going to take the guy who gets coffee for us at Fox's job, you know? And so that's too bad for some of those people. I think Simon Kinberg will probably land on his feet. The amount of money he's made to make terrible X-Men movies is significant, I think. So,
yeah, I mean, the good thing is, I mean, there's no shortage of superhero properties out there. Now Valiant's trying to do the cinematic universe, and apparently Vin Diesel's attached, so I mean, comic book properties are all the rage until the bubble pops, whenever that may be.
Well, the other thing with Kinberg is he's got Star Wars jobs. Like, he was one of the producers on, I think, Star Wars Rebels, the TV show, and I think he's also done some of the development on some of these new stuff, so he'll just go over and work with Lucasfilm instead of Marvel, you know? All right, let's move on to the next bit of news. I just saw Rihanna just posted this morning. So apparently Joe Russo is doing publicity for the new movie, and it's called Infinity War. You may have heard of it. And basically he was asked about Spider-Man Homecoming and the 8 years later, like, whatever you call it, screen card that was in the movie, and basically said, yeah, that was a big mistake. Is this, I don't know, Rhiannon, does that disappoint you after we have been promised by Feige that these things would be kind of figured out? We get like a big scroll that had all the history, and now they're like, yeah, we just made a mistake.
I mean, this just kind of verifies that they are human. I mean, they have done so much. They have held it together so well. They, I mean, the connections, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about Infinity War later, but like, you know, there's so much that they've weaved together, like, fine. I mean, that seems like a huge mistake. I mean, it was big, bold words up on the screen, but, yeah, it's kind of cool to know they are human. So, they get one mistake. One.
Do you mean to tell me Feige is not a god?
I mean, if he is, I mean, even Thor has flaws. So, True. You know, I'm not saying that he's not a god. I take back that he's human part.
I mean, why, if there was any question in it, I mean, it wasn't like it was super integral to Homecoming. at all? Couldn't have they just put later, or they didn't really need a title card? I mean, a reasonable person would assume that it was sometime later, right?
Blame this one on Sony.
Yeah, it's all Sony's fault.
I was gonna blame it on Amy Pascal. Actually, I'm
Okay.
getting that like meme of Kevin Feige like shaking his head while Amy Pascal talks, and that's exactly what it looked like in the theater. Amy's like, "Hey, did you see that?" And he's like, "Oh no." Oh, so yeah, I know it really bothers people. It doesn't totally bother me, but I know that it bothers some of you at home, so sorry. I know that's frustrating. Let's see. We got Entertainment Weekly had Ant-Man and the Wasp stuff this week in their big summer movie preview. I don't feel like we saw that much info. They talked a little bit about Ghost, which was kind of cool. Also, we know that there's going to be Quantum Realm stuff, and they're going to go try to save Michelle Pfeiffer from the Quantum Realm. We've yet to see her in costume, which I think was something we were hoping we'd see, but didn't. Did this do anything to add any excitement to you, or is it a bit hard to care about this with Infinity War 4 days away?
Yeah, I mean, instantly you see the headline and it said some like new exclusive photos or something. I mean, I think the photos we got were Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly just kind of standing there in their suits, which is kind of exactly what we've seen before. So I was a bit disappointed we haven't gotten to see a real good look at Ghost or a real good look at Goliath or a real good look at Michelle Pfeiffer. But yeah, man, I mean, the biggest movie of MCU history is this week. We shouldn't even be talking about Ant-Man 2.
Let it ease our emotions as we come out of whatever we're about to endure this week.
So, Adam, remind me, what does Ghost do? Have I heard like Ghost is like either invisible or impermeable, but not both at the same time? Something like that? Does that sound right?
Yeah, so comic-wise, I mean, Ghost is a small enough character that, you know, the MCU and Peyton Reed could do whatever the heck they want with it, you know? I mean, in the movies, as it sounds, she's gonna kind of be like Vision, so she can phase through things is her power, which is gonna be, I mean, scientifically, I mean, I think we understand how Vision does it, because, you know, he's a robot, he's an android, he has a soul stone. Now, he doesn't have the soul stone, he has an infinity stone. So it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, she can phase through stuff and turn into a ghost.
It's always interesting to me because you have characters that have these huge villain like rogue galleries, and there's great villains that you never get to. You know, like we've talked, a lot of people talking about Mysterio. Like Mysterio is a lot of fun, and we're 6 Spider-Man movies in, and he's still not even the most obvious, you know, next one up. But then you do Ant-Man, you're like, he has no villains, and so we're jumping straight to these characters that sort of don't exist. You know, it's fascinating the way that works on different franchises. So
yeah.
All right, let's see. Next bit of news we'll do Cloak and Dagger. We got some more pictures of the show and some descriptions of the characters, including Tyrone's priest and a young street tough New York cop, who I think is probably going to turn into the villain, is one of the villains in the comics. Rhiannon, I know we've talked about Cloak and Dagger a lot. Was it good for you to see this sketched out a little bit more of maybe some more of the structure of the show with some of these other characters?
You know, the more I'm seeing of Cloak and Dagger, the more exciting I'm actually getting. So, you know, having a little bit more is getting me a little more excited for it. You know, nothing specifically from this batch of stuff. I think I tweeted, I don't think we talked about it, like, I actually was watching Freeform for some reason a couple weeks ago, and they had an ad spot that I hadn't seen, and it was much more interesting than what I had seen before, for some reason. And I mean, that's not that it was actually better, it's that I actually was more interested when I saw that. But yeah, I guess I'm getting a little excited for it.
I love that this continues the theme. Last week, Adam was like, I have a friend who saw it, and it was actually pretty good. And then this week, I was watching Freeform for some reason. I don't know why.
I was in a hotel.
Yeah, it's always the backhanded compliments for Freeform and Cloak and Dagger.
I don't watch live television. For anybody like S.H.I.E.L.D, I'm never one of the people live tweeting. I don't watch live television, and I was in a hotel, and it had Freeform, and it must have been showing some cheesy movie I wanted to watch. I think it was Forrest Gump. But anyways, there were commercials, and I saw a Cloak and Dagger commercial.
Adam, any Cloak and Dagger commercials? Any Cloak? What do you think about this thing that's happening?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems maybe I'm being out of line. Is there a way we can have a street level TV show without involving like dirty cops somehow? Or is that just kind of a given with the terror?
Well, also, not all cops have to come from New York. When I was reading this character description, they're like, she's a rough and tumble New York girl in New Orleans. I'm like, why can't she just be from New Orleans and be rough? Like, I'm just, based on her character description, I'm expected for her to just like throw out some forget about it or whatever, like it just seemed like the most stereotypical thing in the world when I read the character description.
I would guess there's probably a review embargo or something. But just judging by what I've heard, it's good. It's a good TV show. So we'll see what happens. That comes out in July, or is it June?
We've talked about how much TV is too much TV for Marvel. I now have decided, after doing 2 shows a week for this podcast, if it's more than 2 shows a week, that's too much. Like, I'm like on Saturday every week, like, oh gosh, I have to watch Legion and S.H.I.E.L.D. for the podcast tomorrow. If I have to add a third one, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it.
At least S.H.I.E.L.D. Legion will be done by then too, right?
Yeah.
Legion's only like a 10 or 13 episode deal. So we'll have Cloak and Dagger and Luke Cage to look forward to.
I've been trying to figure out, has there ever been 3? So last fall there was 3 with The Gifted, but we weren't watching The Gifted yet as a pod. Has there ever been 3 at the same time? Maybe was there like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways and Punisher that were all out the same weekend or something?
When was Inhumans? Wouldn't there have been 4? Inhumans was still going into November, wasn't it?
It didn't overlap with S.H.I.E.L.D. They had the same time slot.
Oh, yeah. So probably, yeah. So it would have been Punisher, Runaways, and S.H.I.E.L.D.
By the way, we've been talking, this is totally an aside, I think when we do Netflix shows in the future, we're going to, maybe we'll do them week to week or something, or at least smaller chunks, because I've been watching the numbers. People do not watch it when we do a review of like a Netflix show. And I think it's because they haven't caught up, but they're not caught up for like a month, and then it's a month-old podcast, and they don't want to listen. So it's been interesting to watch how that goes.
After watching Jessica Jones Season 2, I'm perfectly all right if we take it week by week. That way I don't have to sit through all season in 2 days.
I can hardly remember Legion, and I watched it like last Wednesday. But, I'll try.
This is one of the occupational hazards of how old the people on this podcast. I can't even remember. How many days ago was that? I'm just as bad. I'm not. This is not to pick on Rhiannon. I'm the same way. So.
No, I'm just forgetful. I sit down, I got all these recommendations for movies to watch, just to cram a couple movies in before Infinity War. Last night I realized I was binging a new TV show, and I'm like, wait, I was on an Infinity War binge. Yeah, I just get easily distracted.
All right, let's do a little bit of Deadpool news. Deadpool 2's advanced ticket sales are setting records for a R-rated movie. I find the qualifiers interesting there. R-rated suggesting it's beating out 50 Shades of Grey, apparently, at this point, from 2015. I think we talked about last week that some of that's just that people pre-order tickets a lot more than they used to. Also, Josh Brolin is saying that he has a 4-movie arc for cable. and says that's fine. He liked Thanos because it was quote unquote finite a role, but that this Cable thing is going to be 4 movies long. Kind of combining with that other piece, do you think we're going to get to see a full 4-movie arc from Cable? Is this going to keep going? Is Marvel going to wrap it into the universe? Like when you see a 4-movie Cable discussion and then you hear this that Feige has plans for Deadpool, how do you process that?
Maybe Feige has plans for Cable, and he was involved in this 4-movie deal.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, they do recast. Well, they don't recast. I mean, this would be the first time it's been as big, but I mean, Alfred Woodard and the dude from Agent Carter, I don't even know his name. So, I mean, I think the biggest mistake Feige could do at this point is make Deadpool into a PG-13 movie. Because, I mean, the new trailer came out. Did we talk about that last week, or was that this week?
Or 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. Yeah, we talked about it.
I mean, I thought that looked a lot better with the final trailer or whatever, with that Peter skydiving guy. I mean, that's going to be funny. That's going to be hilarious. So hopefully they keep it rated R, man. Otherwise, it's going to be very scary in what Deadpool turns into. And I mean, Cable's a character that doesn't have to be rated R by any means. So maybe, did Brolin say his 4-story arc was elsewhere or in the Deadpool movies?
I think it's a mixture of Deadpool and X-Force. He just said 4 films, so.
I'm more fixed. So, did anybody doubt that there was a finite end to Thanos? Like, there was no chance that we came out of Infinity War or the sequel to Infinity War with Thanos still alive, right?
Well, how many villains does Marvel actually kill? I mean, Killmonger? Spoiler alert. But, I mean, we saw Killmonger die. We didn't see Red Skull die. We didn't see Obadiah Stane die, technically.
I think Yellow Jacket's really dead.
Okay, Yellow Jacket. I could see that because he was corrupt. Well, see, but then they're going to the Quantum Realm to get Michelle Pfeiffer.
Maybe, yeah.
Right? So, I mean, who have we seen? I mean, even Hela. I mean, there's speculation that she kind of phased out of that stuff with Surtur, you know? I mean, who have we actually seen die on screen?
Not many.
I think Killmonger, yeah, just Killmonger at this point is what I'm trying to remember. I mean, Ego, they could bring Ego back easily.
So confirmed, Thanos dies.
I mean, the thing to me is Thanos has been such a rich thing in the comics. Like, you did Gauntlet, and then you did Infinity War, and, you know, Hickman brought him back for Infinity. There's been a great Thanos series recently. Like, they've done so much good stuff with the character. I kind of hate the idea that he'll just be gone, you know, like, but then again, that's Marvel. I guess they just think that, you know, they'll have enough IP to just keep on going. So I don't know. It seems a little bit of a waste to only have him for one film, but we'll see.
What do you do with him? Do you throw Thanos in the raft alongside Old Man Hawkeye, or what?
How does Gauntlet end? Infinity Gauntlet ends with him sort of in exile, and they did something that was just sort of a checkmate. Like, he knew he couldn't come back or he'd be in trouble.
I mean, the comics end in certain ways. I mean, there's a comic run that ends with Thanos getting arrested by the NYPD as well. So hopefully that's not how it ends.
Scott Buck's like, what's the problem with that? I love that. That's a great storyline.
Like Brett shows up.
Powerful intergalactic character goes off in cop car. Yeah, that's great.
It's Brett. Brett shows up, arrests Thanos. Story solved.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, you do the same thing with him you do with the villains. You throw him into a black hole that sends him off to somewhere else. And then whenever it's convenient for him to come back, he found his way back, you know.
Sorry, I totally diverted whatever conversation we were having about cable, but that was because I didn't really have.
No, you're fine.
I didn't really have anything to add.
I totally forgot we were talking about cable.
Yeah.
All right, we have a little more Infinity War news, but I think I'll hold that off for our main conversation. I think this is all the major news for this week. I guess I'll do this now. Carrie Coon has been... we've officially found out that she's Proxima Midnight. I have not watched anything that Carrie Coon is in, so... Awesome. It was a little underwhelming for me, because they kept like teasing who the Black Order would be. And so far, it's been people who are well esteemed in TV shows and movies I haven't seen. So
the problem I'm having trying to read these things? I mean, is she voicing in doing the motion capture? Because some reports I'm reading, I mean, you have Terry Notary, who's Cole Obsidian and Baby Groot, but I highly doubt he would be the voice of him. Unless he is, Well, obviously he's not the voice of Groot. But it's just interesting because Feige said that one comment that we'll instantly recognize the voices. And then I have no idea who this Carrie Coon person is.
Yeah, that's the quote that I was like, no, I don't think so, Kev. We don't watch as much TV as you do. I don't know where you get the free time. But yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that they're going to do it exactly like they do in Guardians, where, Groot is like a stagehand with a big top hat or whatever, and Sean Gunn does the mocap for Rocket, but then Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel do voices. I'm assuming that's the way it is. Because why in the world... this Carrie Coon appears to be in lots of TV shows and a very busy actress. You're not going to hire her to run around in a green suit. I guess they did with Cumberbatch when he was the dragon or whatever, but it seems kind of a waste. Just bring him in, let him do the voice. Bradley Cooper, I think, has spent a total of about 4 hours working on his movie roles, so for this universe, so I don't see a reason to do it. I'm sure the Motion Capture Actors Association is appalled right now that I am so denigrating this important work that they do. Because I know it's not easy. I'm not trying to be, nasty about it. But I think that does it for news for now. We'll jump back in with a little more Infinity War news in a minute in our main conversation. But it is time for reviews. And so we are going to talk about... we'll talk about Legion first. Somebody has said that they have not seen Legion, but I kind of want to just see if we can fake it. I'll just ask the questions and we'll see if anybody clearly hasn't seen the episode. So,
Ooh.
All right. So, what was your favorite aesthetic thing that you saw in this episode? A visual or a sound or a song or camera technique? I don't know, something.
I mean, I would say my favorite was probably when David was doing that, mind conversation. I don't know. I can't fake it. I didn't see it.
You were just... Really?
You were going to pull it off, man. You should have kept going, because he
close.
did. He, entered, 4 people's minds and, had a conversation with them.
When David did that
yeah, you were real close.
You were really close.
And
that's where,
to people.
In the garden... with I can't remember his name, the memory guy.
I can't either, the Tommy gun guy.
And it's an interesting name. But in the garden with him in his brain.
Yeah, it's like a PT name, right? Like Ptolemaeus or something like that.
I know I could Google, but that would involve leaning forward 6 inches and typing words into my computer. But
we have a couple guys in the live chat. I'm sure one of them will help us out.
Yeah, anyways, when they were in his brain in the garden, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was in the previews. It was the big mortar shell explosions in the background with flowers. Yeah. I decided this week, the thing I really love, they do lots of things to create ambiguity just to make you feel unsettled. So there's one scene where near the end, there's a big number on the floor. And when they start the shot, it looks like a 9. But as they rotate the camera, it could also be a 6. and it doesn't mean anything. There's no meaning behind it. The only thing it does is it just makes you question reality one more time, right? Like, you're just sitting there like, is that a 9 or is that a 6? Like, it's just there to throw you off. There also was a woman near the front. This doesn't reveal anything. The woman who's driving the hearse at the very beginning, I think it's a woman. There's a character, the hearse driver.
Yeah.
The actor and the outfit was such that you can't totally tell if it's a man or a woman. And again, it doesn't matter, except you're sitting there just unsettled like, which is it? I can't really tell. Like, they do all of these little things. It's the same thing with the weird people with the voice boxes, with the mustaches and the women's bodies, right? It's just like, let's create so much ambiguity that something as simple as the number on the floor has you going, what's real? What's up? What's down? I don't know what, like, I love how they do that in little ways just to screw with you, like, it's great. All right. Was there a character, Rhiannon, that you particularly like? Oh, by the way, Michael T. Ford III helping us out in the live chat. It's Patonomy.
I was about to say, now Mike needs to tell me how to pronounce it, because I had looked it up too. Patonomy? Anyways. Sorry, what was the next question?
Do you have a favorite character this week?
Favorite character this week? I mean, Carrie just continues to be an interesting storyline. I'm trying to remember where there was something else, and I don't know what would be a spoiler, Adam. So whatever.
I don't think anything's on the show is a spoiler, is it?
I know, like,
no, because we don't know what's going on. We could have seen the finale and be like, well, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember, there was some other show or some other movie where somebody was eating food for the first time, or for the first time in a long time. I mean, and it wasn't Deke on S.H.I.E.L.D. It was something a year or years ago, and it always bothered me that they didn't address the issue of indigestion or going through the other motions for the first time. So the fact that they went there, like with the Carrie storyline, I know it was gross and I've seen people complaining about it. I was just satisfied that they didn't leave that hanging and addressed the issue.
So Adam, we learned early on in the episode, because the male part of Carrie is always the part that's out, the female part of Carrie has never eaten before. And so, he's trying to get her to learn how to take care of herself in case something happens. So they show her eating, and then the next scene, he's just by the bathroom door, and he's like, are you okay? And she's like, this is so gross. And he's like, well, it's got to come out. She's like, but why does it have to come out of my butt? And it was very funny. So I liked the different kinds of mazes people had. But I think for Patonomy, this idea that he wants to live in a world with no memory because memories are his curse, this is such a classic X-Men thing. Cyclops has this incredible power in his eyes, but he can't control it. This idea that your powers are your curse is deep into X-Men philosophy. And so I really I thought that was fun. I think it's kind of cool to talk about that. So I enjoyed that part a lot.
Since you brought up Cyclops, can we just say how he's arguably the worst character ever made in comic history? Or is that's
no?
Okay.
Yeah, I hate Cyclops.
I thought I was the only.
Part of it is if you grew up. So I've said before, X-Men the Animated Series was huge for me learning comics. Cyclops is always a dink in that show. He is always so impossible in it. And so, when we would talk with our buddy Charles Murphy, he'd always be like, guys, Cyclops is at the core of the X-Men. We're like, no, he's just a jerk. Because they did it in the movies, too. The movies took him after the TV show. So Michael T. Ford's getting upset.
Well, he likes
I like Cyclops, you guys. I like Cyclops. Just before Michael types all this rage.
No.
I like Cyclops.
I'm sorry.
But I like that. I mean, that whole, my gift is my curse. I like that whole character description. or that whole like whatever trope. I think trope.
It's a real thing. Every once in a while, I'll not like my job, and I'll look at my wife, and I'm like, why do I do this? She's like, because you'd be incredibly miserable doing almost anything else. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. Like the things that we enjoy are often the things we hate too. So I was also excited, Adam. There is an extended Professor Xavier reference this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No appearance though, just the reference.
No, just a basically Farouk goes all colonizer on Xavier. And he's like, is Xavier a good guy, or is he just another white guy who came to tell me what to do with my own country? So it was very interesting.
Where does Legion, I mean, does it fit somewhere in the X-verse? I mean, has that ever been discussed, or is it totally separate continuity and all that? Like The Gifted, I guess I'm not too familiar with the shows.
Is there a continuity to the X universe for either of these things to fit into?
Tiny. I mean, the movie's pretty much just crapped all over that, but technically it's still the same.
I enjoyed the way they rebooted First Class, but when you look at how Charlie McAvoy has aged about 4 years from 1962 to 1988 in the X-Men movies, I mean, what are we doing? Like, the characters don't age. It goes even with the reboot and Days of Future Past. It doesn't make any sense. I think the idea is Legion is sometime in the future. I think Gifted is kind of that way too. There's a sense of X-Men and all those movies were in the past, and they like reference X-Men, I think, in Gifted. I don't know. The answer is it doesn't matter. There's been like 3 Emma Frosts, and it's just...
It is much more confusing than 8 years later. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's right. If you have a problem with 8 years later, go talk to Simon Kinberg. He'll give you all sorts of fun. All right. I think that does it for Legion. We'll see where that goes. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's a lot that happened in this episode. Rhiannon, what'd you think? Did you like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week?
I did. I didn't want to like it. There was a point like halfway through that I was like, okay, we're back to a dark ship and not going anywhere, and this is boring me again. But they didn't drag it on. I mean, I saw a lot of people. So I woke up Saturday morning and there were all kinds of tweets about how dark the episode was. So I was prepared a little bit. And I mean, Ruby, just that whole thing. I'm just glad they stopped dragging that along, that the Ruby thing happened and it's over. And things seem to be moving. I mean, they're not even holding like Deke's love for Daisy as a big secret. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
There was a point halfway through the episode, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, maybe Caleb was right last week about how they're not moving anything forward. I didn't mind the Talbot stuff, but it was just kind of sluggish. I loved the whole extended joke with the lemons, and then Deke has a lemon later on that he's smelling. I thought that was hilarious. Who had that theory? Someone said Baby Von Strucker might be Taskmaster. Was it someone brought that? I think there might be some truth to that now. I mean, unless he's just dead, which he
I was
totally
about to say, I think his head
imploded.
got crushed like a beer can. I'm pretty sure he's gone.
But see, but the thing with Taskmaster, he has like a skull face mask type deal, so they could make it. It's kind of like Yo-Yo getting her arm. She finally got her comic arm, so maybe Taskmaster's now getting his. I don't know.
I think it was Chris in the mailbag. So
Chris, you might be onto something. Otherwise, he's probably dead, because, I mean, his head was... I'm surprised they showed that on TV. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's kind of weird. But thank God they killed Ruby. I know that sounds bad, but I just didn't find her that interesting. And that till they turn her into the next Grand Ward and she comes back due to time traveling and so on and so forth. But
yeah, I'm not like I don't love like violence for violence sake in shows. Like I've never been a big like Tarantino guy or whatever, but I've always felt like S.H.I.E.L.D. is a little better when it's violent, if that makes any sense. Like it just makes it feel a little more grown up and it gives it a little more gravitas, I feel like, when they do stuff like that. And so when they did that and then they killed her, I was begging someone to kill Ruby. Like, yeah. When Daisy Daisy drove me nuts in this episode because she's like, no, we can't kill her. And I'm like, first of all, you're S.H.I.E.L.D. Killing people is not a problem. Literally 2 or 3 seasons ago, you murdered all of the Hydra brass in cold blood. If you knew these people existed, you would have put a bullet in their head 2 years ago. You know, like, so she's already lucky to be alive. And then she's been bred to be a crazy killer. She has terrible parent-mom issues. She's now got, like, voices in her head. You've given her the worst mental illness in the history of humanity. And she's strong enough to crack the planet in half. And we're still, oh, we can redeem her and make her into an Shut up! Somebody put a bullet in her head. You know, like, come on, let's be done with it. And so when Yo-Yo came in and took her out, I was like, okay, finally, somebody had the guts to do the right thing. But it did seem like, you know, we've talked about pods, and the pods have not been as clear this season. This felt like the end of a second pod to me. Like, the first pod was the Cassius thing. Then it's almost by villains, right? Like the Cassius deal, and then the Ruby deal, and now these last 4 episodes are going to be a madcap, weird space hail thing, I guess. It did feel like we were getting a reset after this episode to me. All right, Adam, when she talked to, is it Koras? Was that the name she mentions at the end?
Yeah, I don't know. For a second, I thought they said Korvac, and I would have been stoked. I don't think it was Korvac, so I'm like, no way he's going to be a TV character. But yeah, we kind of saw his face finally. At first, I thought it was like an evil version of Enoch, but it's definitely not Enoch. But yeah, I was totally going to look that up to see if he was a comic character. To my knowledge, the name she said rang 0 bells when I was confident it wasn't Korvac.
I was also for a second wondering if I thought it was almost that maybe it was Korath. And
That's
it was
what
like
I thought too. I'm like
Jamon Hansu or whatever, or Jamon Hoshu. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But I was like, wait a minute. He's dead, and I don't think that they could get him to show up for S.H.I.E.L.D. And that would also make 0 sense. So
yeah, apparently, yeah, there's only 4 episodes left, isn't there? This season has gone by quick. Holy cow. Yeah, I guess we'll see. They're going back to space now, you think? Because we saw that one huge, ginormous warship, right? So whoever that is.
It's Space Hydra, man. Space Hydra.
Do we think there'll be an Infinity War tie-in? They haven't advertised anything, have they?
No, there's not going to be a tie-in.
Yeah, probably not. Because, I mean, what the Winter Soldier tie-in was essentially... Well, I mean, we're still seeing the effects from that now.
Let me put it this way. It's not going to be a tie-in like either Age of Ultron or Winter Soldier, because those both made very clear, like, hey, watch the movie next week. And, I mean, we've now seen the episode before the movie, and there's no clue. Excuse me. No clue like that at all, so...
All we need is just name drop Thanos. Someone somewhere's got to know. These space people, they got to know who Thanos is. Just name drop Thanos, then I'll be satisfied. You can close the series down, shut the series down if they name drop Thanos. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I have... It's so funny. I feel like I'm in 2 minds. We were always like, where's Gravitron? Where's Gravitron? Give it to us. And now it feels like they're making it a major part of the show, and I'm like, you really just needed to mention it again. You know, like, I didn't need a whole season plot for it, but...
Decide what you want, man.
I did think... I guess I'm glad that Creel's not dead, but that was going to be one of the most weirdly gruesome deaths ever. a guy that like turned himself into drywall and then beat his own head off. Like that would have been terribly, weirdly like Black Mirror gruesome. So
we're confident it's renewed, right?
I don't know. I mean, there was rumors about that.
When's the ABC upfronts? Hold on.
Remind me, Adam, what was the latest? It was just a rumor that it had been renewed, or
and I mean all the actors and actresses are on Instagram posting #hiatus and all that type of stuff. So it leads me to believe they have good information it's being renewed. But I mean, last season didn't get renewed until the season was well done, right? Because it seemed like it was dragging on forever, and we're like, is it going to get renewed? Is it going to get renewed? And then it finally was. I want to say it was almost after the season.
It wasn't after, because when we saw Coulson in space, it was like, yes, space next season. Like, I remember knowing that there was going to be a new season, so.
The upfronts aren't until May 15th, so it'll be a while before we'll probably know something definitive.
So the week of the last episode.
We'll know before the finale. We need to know, like, if they're going to close it out, I want to be able to, like, prepare myself. It's not like I love this show so much that it's going to be that upset, but, like, I just want to know that I'm watching the series finale, so.
Get upset?
I'm just a little bit scared that they filmed it in case it is the series finale, like, what they're going to put us through.
Yeah.
We'll have already been through Infinity War by then, so we'll be hardened.
or completely shattered. You'll either be hardened or just completely broken and sorry.
They kill Phil Coulson. They're like, there, take it. Kick them all down.
You won't be sad if they cancel it. I mean, this has been a show that we've watched every single episode for 5-6 years now. You won't be sad? I'll be sad a little bit.
Oh, I'll be sad, yes.
Yeah, so here's my deal. If it means we never see Daisy again, if we never see Quake again, never see Yo-Yo, that would be sad. If they cancel it and all of a sudden Daisy's going to become the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Phase 4 of the MCU and I get to see Chloe Bennett on an IMAX screen, I'll take it, No complaints here. Like, that's fine with me.
I will say this, though. You brought it up earlier this episode. I'm not sure I'm really liking Director Johnson so much. At least in this episode. Definitely not this episode.
No, yeah, she's a lousy leader right now. She's totally letting the Earth get destroyed.
That's true. I did like the moment where all the guys were back home at the base and her and Melinda were out like in the field. And Coulson's like, guys, I'm not sure if you should. And they're like, shut up, Phil. Yeah. We're telling you what to do.
And where's his story arc going? I mean, that one episode they brought up, Phil's dying, and they almost made it seem like he was on his deathbed. And now he's just kind of walking around, It doesn't seem like there's that much urgency involved anymore.
Well, he died last week.
Yeah.
And then he got better.
True.
Yeah, he did.
True, he did die.
I mean, I think it's been subtle. I think there is a storyline here about like a suicidal Coulson almost. Like May said straight up a week or two ago, it's one thing to be dying, but it almost seems like you want that to happen. And then this week, when Talbot, right, had the girl, what's the first thing out of his mouth? If you have to finish the mission, kill me. And it's kind of like Phil's given up, and I think that that's going to be the conclusion, is he's either going to die or he's going to sort of find a way to get a new reason to live at the end of this, I'd say what we might get is the death of Robin's caretaker or mom. I guess that's her mom,
for sure.
right?
Yeah.
She dies, and then raising her with Melinda becomes Coulson's thing, right? Like, Daddy Coulson is kind of where his story arc goes.
I figured I would have bet the house that they were killing her this week, but just because we've seen she dies.
Phil.
Papa Phil and Mama May, Mama Melinda.
Aww.
It kind of sounds like an Italian restaurant. Papa Phil and Mama May, come in and get your pizza.
Actually, a friend of mine has an Italian father-in-law, and she calls him Papa Phil.
Oh, really? Oh, awesome.
So the Superior is dead now. That was like something that was just kind of swept under the rug. Apparently he has no more LMDs? Question mark? That made zero sense to me, right? Because someone flat out said, oh, he's dead now. I'm like, no, he's not. He has millions of himself everywhere, right? Or did I just understand that wrong?
Adam, it would have taken his episode tally up to a point where they would have had to give him a larger contract. And so he's dead, okay?
I just heard...
That's what's going on.
Yeah.
In the same way Creel disappeared for 3 weeks for no reason.
It's like, come on, at least, I mean, I was under the understanding there's millions, you know? And they're like, oh, what's his name, Anton or something? Some really generic Russian-sounding name. MODOK. Pseudo-MODOK. Because his head's somewhere, so he's not dead. But they said he was.
That's what I wanted to see. I want him to put the head into a big robot thing and let's just do full on. Because they're never going to do MODOK in a movie, right? You know, like, unless we get Captain America 38, there's just no one. Yeah. MODOK's the worst villain. Like, he's just not interesting. So, go ahead and give us full MODOK and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., whatever. Alright, we've talked about S.H.I.E.L.D. for, I think, far too long, probably. So, it is Infinity War week. And so, we're just... I don't know. We're talking about Infinity War before it comes out. We're going to talk about our burning questions, things we want to know about. All right. Awesome. Let's go. I'm going to hit a couple of news things. All right. I thought this was huge. The Russo brothers, you know, our theory that like the credits were going to scroll and it was going to be Avengers will reappear in and we get the title then. Russo brothers like, nope, that's not how it's going to work. You're going to see this movie. We're going to let you digest it for a while. And we're going to reveal the title of the next film months down the road. Can you believe that? Like, that's kind of crazy to me that that's happening that way.
I'm getting the line for Hall H right now.
Right. It's got to be there, right?
It's going to be there. It's going to be Comic-Con. But that did scare me a little bit with the, like, you're going to need some time to digest what happened. And then we'll tell you what's coming next. Like... I'm scared.
It's got to be just a huge spoiler of some sort. It's got to be a famous... I mean, it's got to be Secret Wars or something that like will instantly recognize the comic run, right? Or it's like some character call out, like Fallen Sun or something like that we know what's going to happen.
Something fantastic.
Exactly. Fantastic. There you go. How have they kept this secret so long? I mean, we know virtually nothing about Infinity War, kind of, sort of, you know? I mean, at this point, we can kind of piece... I mean, by now, I mean, for Black Panther, we could have kind of gathered what the plot was from at least the videos. But, I mean, even the trailers, the way they're cut, we know nothing about it. Just a bunch of people get hurt and killed and everything's destroyed. But in which order, we have no idea.
Yeah, I'm also suspicious that there's going to be a set piece or a scene that we know nothing about. Like, we kind of know there's going to be, like, a New York thing, and we know there's going to be a Titan thing, and there's going to be a Wakanda thing.
And the stuff they were filming in Edinburgh?
Yeah, we know that stuff. And Thor's going to get his new toy, new weapon. But I get a sense that there's going to be something that's just not... And we got a little bit of... I'm excited for just the flashbacks, like to see the Gamora stuff. Like we've seen just a little bit of that, but you're right. We don't hardly know anything about this movie, really. I mean, they've told us that we don't know the plot, and that's why they're not like previewing it and all that kind of stuff. So,
but Charles Murphy is there. He's our buddy Charles. That's now with the hashtag show. He's been posting pictures from some Avengers event.
Oh yeah, is it tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the last thing I'm doing online then until Thursday. Yeah. This pod will not post. No, I'm just kidding. We'll get that up. But yeah, I mean, I'm just San Diego. I think they're going to make a big deal at Comic-Con. Well, the other piece of that news is the Russos said that Phase 4 is going to be completely different. I mean, we've heard this a lot. That we just cannot think of Phase 4 the way we're thinking about this. I feel like they're preparing us to like deconnect and decentralize a lot of these stories, where like they're gonna start cosmic junk that's gonna never connect back to the Earth stuff, and that's just gonna be okay. And I think that's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be interesting. I think if they tried to continually make the movies always connect to an Avengers event, it's going to start to feel like the comic books, where I'm like, didn't we just do this? Didn't we just destroy New York 6 months ago? Like, how many times can you shatter the universe? I think it's smart to kind of go off and allow these things to move in different directions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've kind of been seeing that, you know. I mean, the past few handful of movies that have come out are so far, you know, apart tonally and visually and all of that, you know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they introduced like a multiverse type deal. Because, I mean, they've been building up for this for 10 years. So at the very least, you know, we still have another 10 years to go before there's some sort of huge crossover again.
I've said before, like, Elseworld stuff, if we could, like, do a 1602, I would be so pumped. Or even like a Marvel Noir. Like, I know those are bizarre and it would probably confuse the Marvel Zombies. Like, I know that stuff would confuse the daylights out of the general populace, but who cares about the general populace? Nerds own the world now, so too bad if that's confusing to you.
1602 would be awesome on the streaming service, like a 1 hour 1602 special. Be that one chance. I mean, use it and you know, have it Hawkeye and Daredevil and, you know, some sort of incarnation of it where you don't have your RDJ and your, you know, your expensive actors. I mean, I don't know what Jenner costs and I mean stuff, but 1602 would be fun for streaming.
We teased this question last week. We try not to be too negative, but we thought this was an interesting question. Is there any chance that this movie is going to be bad? And if this movie is bad, what's going to happen? Like, I guess the lead up to the question for me on this is Last Jedi had all these positive reviews. Everybody was excited about it. Last Jedi was going to be the best thing. And then it came out and fans, at least half of them, kind of hated it. Is there any chance that we do this podcast next week and the entire world is in mourning that Marvel did not stick the landing on this thing?
I don't know. I don't think it can be bad. I mean, no. I mean, so the one thing is, I mean, I think it's going to be easy to be disappointed, you know, because I think this is the most hype I've ever been for an MCU movie by far and away. You know, I haven't been hyped for anything else like this. So maybe we're overhyped, but I mean, bad. Why? Everything the Russo brothers have touched so far has been good. I mean, we're talking the best movies in the MCU good. I mean, Winter Soldier and Civil War are probably in everyone's top 5.
I mean, I think there will be criticism, definitely. There will be some people that think there's too much fighting and not enough of the drama, and there'll be people that think there's too much drama and not enough of the superhero antics, and there'll be people that think there's too much Tony Stark, and people that think there's too much Benedict Cumberbatch and not enough Wakanda. I mean, there's a really tough balance here. But if we come away going, okay, that plot didn't make any sense, then I think that will be horrible for the future of the whole, you know, of the movie side. I mean, the TV side's already there, but...
To me, the way it could fall down is if a week from now we come back and we say, it was really great, I loved the action, but Marvel still hasn't figured out how to make a great villain. Now, I know we've talked about how the last couple of villains have been really great, and that's not a fair way to put it. But if Thanos is not... I mean, this sounds ridiculous. He has got to be as good as Killmonger. He has got to be like Michael B. Jordan, Heath Ledger level bad guy. I mean, that's so unfair to ask of somebody, but he's got to be somewhere in that ballpark, or else it's going to feel a little bit like a letdown. Like, we waited 10 years for this villain, and it's just another crummy Marvel villain. You know, like, to me, that is the real danger of what's going on here.
Agreed. Are they going to make Thanos relatable? Like, are we going to have sympathy for Thanos?
Yeah, I think we've kind of already gotten that. You know, they're explaining his motivations, and he's not just doing this for craps and gigs, you know. So he wants to destroy half the universe because there's less risk that his people are I'm butchering it, but his people were destroyed, so that's why he's doing it, so it doesn't happen to anyone else, which doesn't make sense. But I think he's just not doing it just for power, typical villain stuff like that. I do agree with Caleb, though, about, I mean, if they turn Thanos into Ultron and he's always cracking jokes and stuff like that. I mean, personally, I didn't mind Ultron, but if they turn Thanos into Ultron, I mean, we're looking at like a 20% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. People are going to hate it.
And the thing to me is, there are people who are desiring for Marvel to fail, right? Like, some people just don't like things that are successful. There's undoubtedly some Justice League fans out there that are hoping for a Marvel misstep. So the problem is, if it's mediocre at all and the Marvel people are muted, all of a sudden, you know, like, the angry DC hate boys are going to come out, you know, like, oh, see, Marvel can make crappy stuff too. You know, like, that to me is the danger. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to happen, because I think they're too good at what they do to make something terrible. So I'm not too worried about it. I do think, to me, this is real high risk, high reward. This movie is either going to send this into the stratosphere, and this is going to be known as the greatest film thing ever, save maybe Star Wars, or this is going to bring Marvel back down to earth. I don't feel like it's going to be neutral. I don't think that many people are going to walk out of this going, yeah, it was fine. I think it's going to be people's top 5 MCU movies or a bottom 5 when it's all said and done, you know?
So, I mean, comparing it to The Last Jedi, I think most of the criticism there was because it was so far removed of what they've done before. You know, I mean, The Force Awakens was essentially A New Hope, just with different actors, you know? So, I mean, I don't think, at least from what we've seen so far, I mean, this isn't going to be earth-shattering different than what they've done before, you know?
I think one of the other pieces that really is exciting to me about this is we're not seeing the reviews ahead. Marvel has been so bullish over the last few years that they always review, you know, they like lift the embargo 3 weeks ahead so people can talk about how great it is. And because they've been spoiler adverse on this, I know me, like I said, I'm basically unplugging my computer after tonight. I will not read a review of this movie before I see it. And I cannot remember the last Marvel movie that I did not read a review of before I went into the theater, you know, like I will come into it blind. And I think that's kind of exciting. Like I am really pumped up that given how much we talk about it on this pod and we like see the analysis of these movies and stuff, having so little that we know about it is so cool to me as we head into it. But I think it does create some uncertainty though too, that nobody has seen this movie. So there's no way to know if it's good or bad, you know? Let's do it this way. We kind of talked about the setup. I don't think we need to tell you where all the Infinity Stones are, because I think you know at home where they are. I guess we could recap that fast or something. I guess let me put it this way. What is the storyline, the story thread that you're most excited for this movie to pick up on? What is the previous MCU thing that you're really excited to see continued in this story?
I mean, so far, I'm really excited to see them bring Wakanda into the fold. I mean, get our heroes off the raft and get them all together and bringing in Wakanda. Does that count?
Yeah. For a lot of people, they're thinking about this as like Black Panther 2, you know, like it's a continuation of that story. So
So the thing I'm looking for, I don't want to say looking forward to most, but I think one thing that's going to be really interesting is the dynamics between Gamora, Nebula, Thanos, and the Black Order. I mean, the first time Gamora and Nebula see the Black Order, are they gonna talk like brothers and sisters? You know, because I mean, right now they've made a huge deal about Thanos taking children from all different shapes and sizes and races, you know, and turning them into killing machines. So is Gamora and Nebula's story arc in Infinity War gonna try to push Proxima and Corvus and Ebony and Cull Obsidian into the light side, or how that dynamics kind of between the two and how they interact? I mean, one would think they interact in the movie, right? I hope so. They cross paths at some point, so I'm just kind of interested to see how it shakes out. Ideally, I'd love to see Thanos' origin, but they've gone on record saying we're not going to get that. But
yeah, I'm just going to cheat and mention a couple. I'm kind of excited to see the Scarlet Witch Vision thing. It's the kind of thing that doesn't totally make sense on paper. Like, why is she falling in love with a robot, right? And so I'm interested to see if they do the romance part well of that relationship. I think that'll be cool. I'm still interested in... I think we forget that Tony and Cap beat the living daylights out of each other the last time they were in the same room. And so there's going to be, I think, a moment in this movie where they... I hope there is. If they kill Cap before him and Tony can get back together to talk, and Stark is left just like mourning over Steve Rogers' body, I'll just fall over in the movie. Like, that's going to be so hard. I will be crying my eyeballs out. But anyways.
But hasn't that been where Tony's been heading, though? Ever since he came back from the nuke, you know, I think that's kind of where it's heading. You know, I think that would be the perfect way to end it, almost. Obviously, it's not perfect, but story-wise, it makes sense to end it that
if
way,
you're
you know?
telling a big, depressing story that's going to make everybody cry, watch these things to have a little more joy in my life, not more depression and sorrow.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of been heading that way. So, I mean, it would at least make sense it ends that way, I should say. It wouldn't be the perfect way to end it, but it makes sense.
The other thing I'm interested in, I love Doctor Strange. I think that movie maybe a little more than a lot of other people. And so I think seeing how far he's come and if he's sort of become the Sorcerer Supreme or not. And then I think that there's definitely going to be, I think he's going to give up the Infinity Gauntlet when he gets, or the stone when he gets tortured. Kind of the way that this develops Strange and continues sort of his humiliation and his recognition of how bad he is at his job. I think that could be really interesting and set us up for a really interesting second film for Doctor Strange. So I'm kind of excited to see Cumberbatch interact with these guys and all that stuff. So, all right. Is there anything else we need to talk about as we continue to get closer to this movie? It is so close. Is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss today? Looks like it's going to have the biggest box opening ever, probably 250 million plus.
What do you think is going to be the biggest surprise? The one thing you didn't see coming.
Well, it won't be a surprise for me. I think my guess is that Nebula is going to be a big, big, big deal. I think they're going to draw from the Infinity Gauntlet comics, and she's going to be a big part of whatever happens with Thanos. And I think there's going to be, kind of like Yondu was like the surprise breakout star of Guardians 2. I think people are going to be like, wow, Nebula's awesome. How did we not recognize her before? So that would be my surprise, is that she'll be a huge deal.
I think everybody's going to be really surprised about Daredevil showing up in space.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
He's got a little NASA helmet that's got like two little horns sticking out of the top of it.
I mean, there's going to be continuity issues with how the radar sense works and everything in space, but, you know, people are going to be really surprised.
Oh, that's true, because sound doesn't work in space, right? Something like that. That's the worst scientific thing we've ever said on this show. I'm sure sound works in space somehow. But In space, nobody hears you scream,
Doesn't
right?
work
That's
in
the
space.
classic Alien tagline.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be a real issue in Infinity
I
War.
can't wait until Ebony Maw's torturing Doctor Strange. Then out of nowhere, Ebony gets knocked out by one of those billy clubs. And then we're like,
For real, we are so not expecting it that if they actually
the
filmed
real
just like a 30-second post-credit scene with the Defenders, the theater will lose their crap, right? Like, it will be unbelievable.
I mean, so there was actual talk sometime, right? Of something? I mean, even a little stuff, right? Or
I heard a rumor that they were going to that they had looked into Daredevil being in it. But the most recent rumor that I heard is that was scrapped. Who knows? I have absolutely no expectation at all. I think we're just as likely to see Shao-Lao hanging out in Wakanda.
oh
or
man, if
something.
we got a Shao
I mean-
Lao and Thanos fight, done. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer to your own question, Adam? Is there any big surprises you think are coming?
Yeah, I think we'll see Captain Marvel. If it's at least, I'm not sure if that's a big enough surprise. I mean, there's been talk that she's going to be in it regardless. I think it's definitely going to be a post-credit scene. Maybe Nick Fury saying, "Oh, we need to find her," or something of that nature. But I think we'll get her in some shape, way, or form.
Do you think we're going to get a post-credit scene?
Yeah, I think that's kind of been confirmed, right? Because the Russos said originally they didn't want to do it, so that led me to believe that there's at least one or two.
That would be the biggest disappointment. Sit in the theater until the end of those freaking credits, and there's nothing there. Done. 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, at least after Spider-Man, you had like Cap being snarky about the fact that there wasn't anything special at the end. Like,
I would take no post-credit scene over Thanos PSAs, though. I'll say that.
I just think that's a way. I mean, they've been kind of talking about how they want you to like digest this as one movie. Like, to me, the way to go all the way there is just to not do a post-credit and be like, this stands on its own. You know, like, this is the end of 10 years, and you don't need a tease for the next movie. You can be fine with just this. You know.
what if you wait until the end of the credits and it's just a black screen that says "The End"?
Here's the thing. These things should disappoint me. I'm loving, like, all these ideas. I'm like, yes. Like, I think they put me at a point of hype. I can't be disappointed at this point. Like, I am, I should not, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm not going to tempt fate any further. That's not true. I could be disappointed. Please, universe, let me enjoy this a lot. All right, let me go ahead and run through real quick our death pool just as a reminder. You can play this online. I'll put the link to it in the description for the podcast. Just a reminder, our teams here of who has what characters. We're going to do it next week. If somebody dies, you get a point, and whoever gets the most points wins. And we can, I'm sure we're going to have to put out for arbitration what counts as a death or something, but my team is Vision, Falcon, Okoye, Thor, Groot, and War Machine. Adam has got Scarlet Witch, Nebula, Captain America, Hulk / Banner, Wong, and Drax. And Rhiannon has got Bucky and Black Widow and Gamora and Mantis and Rocket Raccoon. So that is the list. You can play online with us. It'd be fun.
Iron Man wasn't ever chosen, huh?
Wait, Iron Man's got to be on somebody's list.
He's got to be. Where is he? Oh, Rhiannon has Iron Man.
Oh, thank God. I was like, my list sucks.
Yeah. You guys went for Iron Man and Cap and left Vision just sitting there for me to scoop up, as I remember it. So
I think they're all three going to die anyways. So.
Yeah, I think it's possible that we're all going to get 100%. Everybody's going to die. And then next week we're going to be like, well, we used to have an MCU. Hashtag it's all dead.
Hashtag it used to be connected.
All right. Does that do it for this week? It's a long podcast, so I think we're good. Next week, obviously, we will start to review this. And to be honest with you guys, we're going to be talking about this movie forever. You know, it's going to be a couple weeks, I think, probably of undoing, at least till Deadpool comes out. We'll probably mostly talk about this. In part because there'll be a lot to process, and in part because you guys click our links a lot more when we put Infinity War in the title. So, all right, let's go to our mailbag real quick. A few comments on SoundCloud from Chris. I just gotta pull it up. So he was just talking about Netflix. He thinks that there's plenty of storylines to keep going with, to keep the Netflix shows going. We were asking last week about how long that would happen. And he talked a little bit about Scarlet Witch. Chris is the biggest Scarlet Witch fan we know. I think he's the only Scarlet Witch fan I know of the level that he is. So he was just talking about how he does not like House of M. If we're going to see Scarlet Witch, he would like to see a movie sort of based on what they've done recently in the comics with her and the Vision series. Scarlet Witch and Vision, Tom King style storyline. Adam, you'd be lined up.
Oh, sign me up. Sign me up. I'll buy my ticket today.
So, yeah, that sounds pretty good. In the live chat, Michael T. Ford and Jack Hammer have both been hanging out. Lots of good stuff. Let me see here. Jack Hammer was just saying that he felt like Cloak and Dagger, the teleportation effect for Cloak, is looking pretty good in the new previews he's seen, and so he's excited about that. Michael T. Ford is Team Cyclops. He thought Dove Cameron did a good job in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He also said we'll be sad when S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone, no matter what we say. He suggested MODOK for next season's Big Bad and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if there is another season. I could buy that. I mean, I don't know. I kind of hate the Superior guy, but if they totally MODOK him out, I think that could be fun. He mentioned the Thanos novel, which... Is it canon? Is it not canon? I've been confused this week.
So it originally was, but then what was it, IO9, I think, posted, had the exclusive. They had to update. The publisher sent it in saying it wasn't canon. So I'm not sure where the mix-up was.
And then he had a great idea for the way to end Infinity War. After the credits, a white screen, and it just says on it, "Everything dies." Which is like the tagline from the Jonathan Hickman stuff. Right? Like Jonathan Hickman did this build-up to Secret Wars and then the reset and all that stuff. And all of those comics started with Reed Richards saying, "Everything dies." And I think that'd be really fun. We know they're using Hickman stuff, so.
Or a white screen and nothing but Baby Groot dancing because he's not human or alien. He's a plant. That's more happy.
All right. I think that does it. I will close up the show. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can interact with us a lot of ways. Send us a message on Twitter at Marvel News Desk. We probably won't read it for another week or two, but that would be a fine way to try to talk to us. You can communicate with us on SoundCloud or our MarvelNewsDesk.com posts each week. If you want to support the show, we'd love for you to give us $1 a month over at patreon.com/MarvelNewsDesk. That gets you access to a special MCU film ranking episode that's available only to our Patreon supporters, as well as giving you early access to videos like the Road to Infinity War Supercut. If you like us on Facebook at facebook.com/MarvelNewsDesk, that'd be great. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at watch.marvelnewsdesk.com. That's been building up, and we really appreciate that support. You can help the show be more visible to others if you give it a 5-star review on iTunes. And the most important thing you do every week is you listen and you tell your friends, and we are very thankful for that. We want to thank Tim Cox for our logo. You can find him on Instagram at TimVCox. And thanks to Alvin for our theme music. You can find him across a variety of social media platforms at The Skull School. All right, I'm about to go into Internet Darkland, so we'll see you guys on the other side. I am excited. Next week, we'll how about we talk about Infinity War, since we'll have seen it. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Thanks, listeners. We hope you guys have a good time. Go ahead and tweet at us. I think this is safe. Once you've seen it, just, feel free to tweet at us how you feel about it. And me and Rhiannon and Adam will be smart enough not to check Twitter until after we've seen it. But if you guys want to say, hey, I loved it, or it was really great, or want to interact with the show, obviously do that so we'll have a big mailbag next week with all your reactions. So, all right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.